email prior just with some resources. Also, before I start this, we will be recording this. Hopefully that's all right. If it's not, just let us know. We will only be sending this recording to folks that signed up for this. But in case life happens and you can't miss one, or if you've missed one, we want you to have the content. So, okay. Each week we'll send you an email beforehand just saying, hey, FYI, this is coming up tomorrow. Here's the agenda. Here's some resources. Looking forward to it. And then following our conversation, there'll be a wrap-up email with all the resources shared and so forth. So a couple emails from us in an hour together each week. But for today, we're going to do some introductions. We're going to do an overview of why we even made this. We're going to talk through the foundations of Safe Routes to School, acknowledging we have 8 weeks to talk about all things safe routes. So if you say, hey, Sophie, we missed engineering this week, we will get to that. We're going to have a local highlight story every week. And then there's going to be a call to action. So from this time until next week, there'll be an action item that we are asking you to do. The hope is that it is ingraining what you learn, but also kind of giving you that boost of maybe you need to send that email to that partner that it's on your to-do list and it never gets to the top. Maybe it's providing time to go look at some websites that you can learn more about this. So there's a small call to action every week in between the time we're together. Any questions on this? No? Okay. Okay. A couple of slides of me just talking to you all. So the purpose of the Safe Routes to School Academy, there's a few things. The main purpose is that we wanted to bring together folks from across the state that are knowledgeable about Safe Routes to School, that want to launch or relaunch the program. This first pilot cycle really is focused on SHIP folks, Statewide Health Improvement Partnership. But in addition, we have folks from different counties, public health, educators, staff, and so forth, knowing that really everyone does this work. How this is going to work, it's going to be weekly virtual meetings with ongoing those action items each week between sessions. Also on every slide, there's some really cool pictures. All are Minnesota based, doing some pretty cool things. So this was a bike rodeo, and the joy on that kid's face just makes me happy. So the benefits of participating, so this is free. You didn't have to pay any money, just your time, which probably costs more than some money. So it's a free 8-week virtual community of practice designed to inspire and support you all in launching or the relaunching. Gaining that foundational knowledge, we know that some folks have been doing this for 20 years. Some folks just joined a SHIP team and they're like, you know what, you're going to be the active living lead. And you're like, I don't even know what that means. Everyone keeps saying SRTS, and what does this mean? So really there will be a range of folks that know about safe routes, but the thought is that after these 8 weeks, you will know the foundations. You will understand if somebody that has been in this for 20 years is talking, you will understand what they're saying. And it might not be the information that is shared on a random network call, right? You just kind of have to be in the work to know some of this. So that's a hope of ours. Awareness and supporting of applying for future funding, both from our state, from local, from county, and potentially from federal, kind of what we look for, how do we support folks, who has been successful in this, and what have they done to make sure that they are successful, which I know we're all needing and interested of that funding opportunities. And then lastly, when you complete the Safe Routes to School Academy, this opens up an opportunity for our Safe Routes team, so Kelly, myself, Phoebe, and Ellen from MDH SHIP, to provide some additional support for you this next go around school year. Everyone is tight on TA, but you investing your time in this is one way we can say thank you. So if you say, you know what, I've got through this academy and I'm really interested in walk audits, can you come help me in my community do a walk audit? We'll then be able to prioritize your request over maybe somebody that didn't participate in this because you did, right? So there's a benefit there for you all. And the 3 kind of next steps would be a walk audit. If you don't know what that is, you will know by the end. Suggested Safe Routes to School maps, and then action planning for the upcoming school year. That one's a little vague because we know every community is a little different, and being able to work with you on what you want to do for that next school year. Great. So the topics we'll cover in the next 8 weeks. I'm very proud of like the titles of these because we could just say like the really boring E's, but we made it a little fun. So foundations of safe routes to school. Next week, we're going to talk about equity and engagement, really centering that community voice. Week 3, we're going to talk about education. It's one of the biggest pillars of our program. Walk, bike, fun, building safety skills. We're actually going to talk about the new safety education mandate as well. So be sure to be here for that week. Week 4 is encouraging, making it fun and meaningful for why people do this. If it's not fun, no one's going to show up. Engineering, planning, and partner for safe routes to school infrastructure. Evaluation, measuring your impact and making the case. Grant making, funding your safe routes to school work, and then sustaining your safe routes to school program will be the last week. So it's a jam-packed schedule, jam-packed 8 weeks, but we are really excited to walk through this with you. Okay, so our thoughts of what this academy is going to look like going forward, and then we want to hear from you as well. But for us, we think it's going to build community. We're going to see faces. We're going to chat with each other. Hopefully you're all coming to the Safe Routes to School meetup on the 25th, so you'll see each other in person. You're not just a screen. It's going to expand our knowledge and resources. We're going to share some resources, implementing event days, giving that foundational information of how do we do this well, launching programs in your community. There's going to be a promotion of this important work taking place, guidance on language. If you're really stuck with local school wellness policy, what are those best practices? What have people done to support that? Again, grant writing best practices, the opportunity to get in the know and attend a walk, bike, fun training that we'll talk more about. But if you can come off mute, I realize I just jumped in because I'm so excited to be here. So I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen for a second, and I think this will be a good hi hellos. And we're going to do a round robin. Hi, what's your name? Where are you from? What community you're representing or affiliated with? And why are you here? What are you looking forward to? And I'm happy to go down the list because I know it's really hard when we jump around, especially when we have 20-some folks on the call. So first on mine is Kirsten. You can jump on.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kirsten Anderson. I'm with Dakota County Public Health, and I'm here to learn all the things. I took over for you, Sophie, almost a year ago, so I'm excited to become more knowledgeable. Thanks for having me.
Anne?
Good morning from the great north part of the state up in Grand Rapids. I'm here because I'm just a lifelong learner. Even though I'm retired and this job kind of fell in my lap a couple years ago, I'm into it. So matter of fact, this afternoon I'm teaching the All Kids Bike program at summer school with our Ks and first graders today. Yeah, just knowledge is a wonderful thing and community is a wonderful thing. So I appreciate you guys doing this.
Glad you're here. Emma?
Hello, I'm from Dodge County.
Oh, sorry, 2 Emmas.
Oh, sorry.
You're correct.
I'm from Dodge County. I'm the SHIP coordinator here, and so I've been a SHIP coordinator now for a little over 2 years. I know a little bit, but I am excited to get a project going here in Dodge County.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. Brittany.
Hi, I'm Brittany Schmalz. I'm SHIP coordinator with Candy County Public Health. I've been here for almost 4 years, and this is actually great timing for us because we were just asked to partner to do a walk audit.
Wonderful. Kelly, you're next.
Hi, folks. My name is Kelly Corbin. I'm the Safe Routes to School coordinator here at MnDOT. I've been doing Safe Routes to School stuff for about 15 years now. So happy to share my experience and help you all achieve great success.
Thank you. Elizabeth Stenton.
Hi, Liz Stenson, Chisago County. I am really looking forward to just continuing to expand my knowledge on like general safe routes to school stuff, but really diving into like how to support schools with the sustainability component and following their plans that they have, that even if they've had a lot of turnover, how they can continue those efforts within their school and their community.
Wonderful. George? George, are you on? We'll come back. Katie Heckman.
Sorry, trying to get my
All
camera
good.
off. There we go. Yeah, Katie Hackman, Olmsted County Public Health, and I've been in my role for almost no, it's been exactly a year now. So I just feel like I'm continuing to learn, but I specifically want to be gaining a little more knowledge in how to better support rural schools. I feel like there's a lot of information available for more urban settings, but just keep wanting to learn more about supporting our rural schools too.
Thank you. Paige.
Hi, my name is Paige Lowry. I am the West Metro TZD coordinator with the Office of Traffic Safety. I am here because I want to support the schools in my area.
Happy you're here. Joshua.
Oh, yep, Joshua Miller in the metro area with AECOM, and here just to soak up a lot of good knowledge and support my local schools, and then also my kids start public school next year, so might be useful information for my kids too.
Yeah,
further
then you
down
can
the
be the
line.
parent that's like, school, why are we not doing this? Here's all that information I know now.
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. Robert?
Morning, everyone. I'm Robert Gliski. I work in the engineering department at the City of Plymouth, and I'm here. I think the last time the City of Plymouth did something with Safe Routes was in 2009, so I'm excited to breathe some new life into the program here.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. Rose?
Hello, my name is Rose. I am with Randolph County Public Health as a SHIP coordinator, and I started in my role 2 months ago, so I'm excited to just learn more today and
Awesome.
the next 7 weeks.
Awesome. Thank you. Jake?
Hey everybody, I'm Jake Ruder. I'm the Active Transportation Unit Supervisor in MnDOT's Office of Transit and Active Transportation. So I do my best to support the great work that Sophie, Kelly, Isabella, and other folks on our team do on a day-to-day basis. I'm excited to be here because I have for a long time worked side by side with Safe Routes to School, but not directly on Safe Routes to School. So I'm excited to learn about some of this stuff through the lens of the program. Thanks, Sophie.
Thanks, Jake. Savannah?
Hi, I'm Savannah Hunley. I'm with the Upper Minnesota Valley Regional Development Commission, and we're actually working on a Safe Routes to School plan this year. So just wanted to keep learning and, make sure that we're giving the best to our communities.
Awesome. Thank you. Sophia?
Sophia Grabo with Horizon Public Health. We serve Douglas, Grant, Pope, Stevens, and Traverse counties. I'm just here to learn more and continue to expand my knowledge on Safe Routes to School.
Great. Isabella?
Hi everyone, I'm Isabella Spitznagel. I'm the planning intern with the Active Transportation Unit at MnDOT, working with Sophie and Kelly and Jake. I'm here to support where I can and also just broaden my knowledge on Safe Routes to School.
Thank you. Susan?
Good morning. I'm Sue Felton from Houston County. I'm like Rose. I've only been an employee for 2 months, so I'm here to learn also.
Good. I'm so happy you're here. Last but not least, Tony.
Good morning. Tony Clares, Headwaters Regional Development Commission in Northern Minnesota, and we also contract with North Country Health Board to do active living ship work. So done some Safe Routes to School planning, but here and excited to learn more and be more effective and efficient in the work that we're doing.
And maybe at some point we can loop you in for the walk audit. At least drop the network call link of all the great work you've been doing with walk audits in your community, Tony.
Sure.
Yeah. And then, hi, I realized I didn't do my introduction. Sophie Kalo, Safe Routes to School Planner with MnDOT. Kelly, Jake, Isabella, Phoebe, who's not here today, but will be here in other meetings as well. And we're very excited. If you haven't caught that yet, we're excited to be here. Alrighty. So because it is a virtual day of talking, we are going to do some breakout rooms. I know breakout rooms can be boring or, oh, I don't want to talk to people. Yeah, Kelly.
So the breakout rooms, I just realized you would have to do on your end since you're a meeting organizer. But what I did do is I did a Menti if we want to try and do that instead.
Let's do a Menti today.
Okay.
We're going to roll with the punches. Did you do the questions as well? Or do you want me to start them?
Yeah, I'll share my screen. So there is a link below. You can hit the link. It should take you right into it. Otherwise, you can hit menti.com and then put in that code. I'll share my screen and the code is on the top. So you'll just chat. The first one is, oops, that's not the one we want to start with. How did you get to school as a kid? Throw in there. What was the most common way you got to school as a kid? Did you bike? Did you walk? Did you roll? Carpool? Take transit? Yellow school bus? A little bit of everything.
Uphill both ways.
Yeah, school bus in the morning, sports in the afternoon, things like that. Five of 13 responses. Good, yeah, looks like bus, bike, and car are kind of the bigger ones going on there. Mom, that happens too, taking the bus.
Question, Kelly, how do we get in there or do we just start typing?
Yeah, so in the chat box of Teams, which you're going to find at the top header of our Teams call right now, if you open up the chat, there'll be some links there. You can go to menti, menti.com, and then put in 94314632, which should be on the top of the screen. All right. Ooh, we even had some people in there with the city bus and then how it kind of changes throughout ages. If you want to, you just throw in a fun memory you have of biking or walking. And while you're all doing that, I'll just share mine. I think my favorite memory is learning how to ride a bike. I lived in a very hilly neighborhood, so I couldn't learn to ride in my neighborhood. So we went to my elementary school because it had a big blacktop. And so that's where I learned to ride without my training wheels. Which is a really cool memory of me and my dad, and then kind of going for a little neighborhood ride. So it's a very cherished memory because my dad's not around anymore, so it's a core memory for sure. Look at you all. Biking to Dairy Queen. That is a common thing we find throughout throughout the state. Yeah, biking to see all the fun things we want to do, seeing seasons, spending time with friends or family. We'll talk about that more. Learning how to ride, getting to the places you want or need to go, spending time with friends, being outside. This is great. So you can see through this that it really brings joy. It develops those core memories of being a kid. And with everything going on and schools being tough, it's nice to have something that brings back the fun of childhood, that gives kids an opportunity to connect with their friends in a really low stress way. We found some places where it's been helpful with some bullying issues. So it's great to see this. I think these were the two intro questions, Sophie, or did you? Okay.
No, we'll do that one in the next one.
Yep, we'll do that next. Okay. Back to you, Sophie.
I think it's actually back. You're going to chat this one, but I'll do your slides.
Thank you. All right. So first thing, I'm just going to ground us in the Safe Routes to School program, just so you have the background, and then we'll talk about the benefits. So next slide, Safe Routes to School is kind of a national program. And these are the three of us on the team. So you have myself, you have Sophie and Phoebe Ward, who will show up soon. So Sophie and myself do most of the programming and policy and technical assistance and training for Safe Routes. If you receive any of our grants through Safe Routes, you'll be working with Phoebe Ward on our like invoices, developing contracts, contract closeout, and all that really fun stuff. So you might get to engage with any of us. All right, here's the history. You don't need to read this all. I'll go through it pretty quick. But Safe Routes started in California and then quickly became a federal program receiving federal funding back in like 2002 is when it started. And it's through the Federal Highway Administration, which is a part of USDOT. And then when Safe Routes, we started doing plans through MnDOT in about 2010. And then what really became the big thing with Safe Routes is when the State Health Improvement Partnership launched in 2008, 2009. Safe Routes to School was one of the key strategies there, which really gave us some statewide momentum to be looking at Safe Routes to School. And I think that's really key to the success in Minnesota. So shortly after, the Center for Prevention at Blue Cross Blue Shield helped launch the network calls, which we are still doing to this day on the first Thursday of every month, which is a way for us to share stories of what's happening across the state. Minnesota is really unique that we have some really big communities and some really rural areas, and we try to highlight both of those on these network calls, emerging topics, and provide some of that peer sharing that is so helpful for our work. And from that, we hosted the National Safe Routes to School Conference in 2011. We developed our statewide steering committee. Then there's some legislation that passed within Minnesota, giving us a line item for Safe Routes to School, which allowed us to get funding over the years for infrastructure and non-infrastructure. And then about 2012, after a pilot in Rochester for bike fleets and bike education in schools, Minnesota Department of Health, Department of Education, Department of Transportation, Bicycle Alliance in Minnesota, and the Center for Prevention at Blue Cross Blue Shield worked together to develop the Walk Bike Fun curriculum, which is our statewide bike ped curriculum. And we'll talk about that more in our education session in a couple weeks. We also developed our Minnesota Resource Center. It's currently down right now. We'll get it up for the next one. But what we heard from folks is we want Minnesota stories. We want rural stories. We want to know how this works. So all those resources we have on that website, which will be up soon. From there, we did a strategic plan. We launched the first winter walk to school day in the country, and now several states have followed suit. In 2018, we expanded staffing to be 2 people on the team. We developed the visualization tool, which we'll talk about later today. We received CDC funding to expand the Walk Bike Fun curriculum to include students of all abilities and be applicable to DAPE programs within schools. Developed a demonstration project guide that has received national attention and been replicated in many ways, doing other grant opportunities besides planning and infrastructure for coordinator grants, our boost grants. Developed a step tool to help us prioritize equity and where we're grant making and doing resource allocation. And then this past year, expanding our team from 2 to 3 to include Phoebe. So quick rundown of everything that's happened. It's been a fun ride and a lot of great work's happened. Go to the next slide.
Any questions, thoughts, feedback on this timeline?
You can also throw stuff in chat or monitoring.
Yeah, we'll monitor both. All right.
Yeah, so in 2020, which was a fun year to wrap up a strategic plan. And so we were a little delayed on getting it incorporated with the changes that happened in schools after it. But we have 6 themes within our strategic plan. You can see those there. And this academy is a piece of, building that local capacity, helping to develop standards and innovating in the program. Our vision for Safe Routes in Minnesota is really unique compared to other states. It's that youth in Minnesota can safely, confidently, and conveniently walk, bike, and roll to school and in daily life. So the comment earlier about what this looks like for rural areas, that's why we added that daily life is it might not be kids walking and biking to or from school, but maybe after school before sports or band or an after school activity, they are walking around that school site, going to a gas station or walking across the street to their theater practice or walking to a neighborhood for piano classes. They're still using that infrastructure environment within and around the school and the walk zone. So we try to think about it from a lens of those who are walking and biking for transportation purposes and those who are using it more on an occasional level. You can go on to the next one. And we do have really great support for this work statewide. On the left is MnDOT's commissioner helping read a bike and walk story from this last year's Walk to School Day event. The right side of the slide is our assistant commissioner or deputy commissioner who is there again for walk and bike and roll to school days. So leaving their full inboxes, busy meetings, and going out there to experience this because they value the work. And then we're also really fortunate that for each of our event days, we've had the governor The current governor and past governors provide proclamations for this work, in addition to providing state funding for Safe Routes to School. And we are one of maybe 6 or 7 states across the country that also has state funding for Safe Routes and does not just rely on federal funding, which is a little more dicey these days. Great. So you'll hear this a lot, and this is how our academy is broken out into these 6 E's of Safe Routes to School. So we like to think of Safe Routes as a really comprehensive program. And that is, we have kind of the 3 pieces of, we want to engage folks to understand what the barriers are. What the barriers are in Minneapolis is going to be different to the barriers in Itasca, different than Bemidji or Byron or other communities in our state. So we have to talk with the kids and the parents and better understand what those unique barriers are. Some places it might be that there's just a really scary dog on the walk there. Other places they might not shovel snow, so kids can't be walking in that area. So having those conversations helps us understand the barriers that we want to overcome. And then we're going to look at engineering. What are the changes we have to make to the built environment? Do we need to add crosswalks, add sidewalks, and signage, slow speeds, things like that can make it safer for kids to walk and bike, or parents more comfortable with letting their kids walk or bike? Then we need to educate the kiddos and the parents and the drivers on how to navigate these roadways safely together, whether we're walking, biking, driving, carpooling, or taking a bus or transit. And then encouragement's key. We can't just build it and hope people come. We have to incentivize that behavior change. And many of you are with public health, so you get that. We have to incentivize that behavior change, get people out there to try it once, encourage them to try it a few times, and maybe we're going to get that behavior change, that mode shift, and that increase of physical activity. And then, of course, evaluating our activities to make sure we're making the intended changes we hope, and try and do process improvement along the way. And equity is a key E that we have integrated into the program in the last 10 years. We were one of the first states to do so. And that really means that we want to make sure that we're not just addressing the issues for some of the students, we're addressing issues for all the students. And we weave that throughout all the E's. And we'll talk about that more in one of our future sessions together. So what does Safe Routes look like? It looks different based on kind of where you're working. At a state level, we have a statewide steering committee. We work with partners in different state agencies, statewide nonprofits, and also some of our regional partners with the regional development commissions. Maybe at a regional level with some of our RDCs who are here, they're partnering with different public health agencies, other kind of regional partners who might be working at a county level or a multi-county level, thinking about it that way. And then at a hyper local level, it might be within a city, you have school district, you have public health, you have law enforcement, you have bike ped advocates there, you have disability advocates there, folks who are working on thriving communities and economic development. That might be more what it looks like, or maybe it's at a county level, or maybe your school district spans multiple counties. And so you're pulling in partners from all those counties to do this work. So it certainly looks different because Minnesota is big and broad, and it's going to look a little different everywhere. We'll walk you through that and how to figure out how to form your own Safe Routes to School team. And then now we're talking about, why does Safe Routes matter? Why are you going to be doing this work? How do you make compelling messages to your partners to get them engaged in this work moving forward? Next slide. So some of the data that's here to kind of show you how things have shifted over the years. So, we might be thinking about our parents or grandparents, back when they were going to school, almost half or over half of all students were walking and biking to school. And it was just a small percentage of maybe 12% of students were actually being driven by a parent or caregiver to school. And then you look later, closer to today, and you're seeing that paradigm has really shifted, where most of the kids are being driven to school and only a small amount are walking or biking. And we'll talk there are certainly some challenges there with school consolidation, with where our schools are being built. COVID made some changes in travel planning, things like that. And we'll talk through those, but we would like to see that number go up. And then we'll talk more that as we work on this work, 10% of morning congestion is related to school transportation. So if we want to look at congestion, look at traffic safety, incorporating school transportation into our thinking and planning is really key for that. Next slide. All right, and so this is getting back to why we do a comprehensive program. We're talking about encouragement and education at MnDOT. And maybe you're thinking, don't you guys just like build roads and stuff? But we have this research data, and this is one research, and there's plenty out there, that it has to be a wraparound approach. So going back to what I say a lot is, we can't just build it and hope people like see a sidewalk and all of a sudden there's 20 people out there walking on that sidewalk. We have to build the infrastructure so it's safer. So if we just build the infrastructure, we see an 18% increase in students walking and biking. If we just do helmet safety education in classrooms and we just do walk bike fun, we're going to see an increase in students walking and biking, but not as big as if we did a wraparound approach of doing the 6 E's in a comprehensive manner. That's where we're going to see that 31% increase. And we've seen that in Minnesota too, is if we're just doing education, the kids who are already doing it are being safer. If we just do engineering, the kids who are already doing it are being safer. But we want to encourage more of those kids who are in that 40% who are being driven by parents to consider walking, biking, or getting back on the bus to reduce that congestion. Next slide. Yeah, and so getting back on the bus. So again, this is that comprehensive approach of thinking about school transportation. And we're primarily focused on, kids walking and biking, but reducing that congestion around schools is going to make it safer for kids to cross streets. It's going to make it safer for and more comfortable for parents and caregivers to allow their kids to walk and bike. So that's why we're doing that. And then from a public health perspective, getting those 60 minutes of physical activity a day, that's recommended for students by the CDC. 1 mile of walking is going to get you 2/3 of the way there. It's hard to add physical activity into the school day as a public health strategy because there's just so many demands and things that need to happen. So in addition to continuing to strive for that, looking outside the school day of how are kids getting to and from school, and is there a way to embed physical activity there? We'll talk about incorporating the students who are in the walk zone, and in a future one, in our encouragement one, we'll talk about remote drop-offs to support those in rural areas. And there's so many benefits to safe routes. We've talked about a few of them, being the school transportation fixes, a shortage of bus drivers is happening, shortage of school transportation dollars is happening, where many schools are expanding walk zones or having walk zones for the very first time ever. So diving into safe routes right now, schools are looking for help because there's a lot of new challenges that they haven't had. So that cost savings, we did a research project that showed parents who drive their kids to and from school every day, it costs them about $1,200 a year. So as budgets get tighter, maybe that's a compelling message. Healthier students, getting those physical activity. We do have some data about better academic performance. When you get your wiggles out in the morning, you're ready to sit down and learn. We've also had schools in the state talk about improvements in behavior, less students going to the principal office because they did that morning walk around school. They got their wiggles out. They talked with their friends. So when they get into their classroom, they're ready to sit down and focus on the teacher from above. So I'll stop there and throw it back to you, Sophie. I think that's the last one.
I think we're going to jump back to Menti for the next breakout. While you're pulling it up, the other benefit right now is we are seeing higher absenteeism, and being able to implement safe routes to school and a safe, consistent way to get to school. We are already seeing data that says that supports that connection, decreasing absenteeism.
Thanks.
Just another plug.
And we'll connect all these benefits to some of the strategies we talk about in the future, but we're just trying to give some groundwork here. So in the Menti, if you can hop back to it, that link should be live. What are those benefits? So we talked about a lot of benefits, but they might not all be compelling to your communities. When you're talking about this with your school transportation folks, parents, other partners in the community, what do you think is going to be that compelling message? Is it academic improvement? Is it traffic safety? Is it the cost savings? Is it cleaner air? Is it addressing climate change and decarbonizing transportation? Is it just creating that community connectedness where if we see kids and families out walking and biking, that's a thriving community that we want to visit, we want to live in, and we want to go to. So I'll let you keep going and thinking of it. Yeah, community connectedness is a key one. And that's what's fun about Safe Routes is it really involves a lot of different partners at the table to talk about this, because we're talking about the school day, but we're also talking about the neighborhood and the places kids want to go.
Mhm.
Great. Still seeing some different ones come in. Hey,
Fun.
someone put in there that it's fun. I love that. I talk about that often of like those core memories of being a kid and bringing the fun into the work of thinking about walking in the fall and crunching on the leaves and kicking leaves, or in the snow, you're climbing the snow hills with your friends, or when it's raining in the spring, you're jumping in puddles with your little boots on. These are really fun things that kids like to do, hopefully safely, that can be that compelling message, get people excited about this work and bring them to the table in a meaningful way rather than being voluntold or having a hostage in a meeting.
I'm also seeing traffic safety and safety around school zones, and we'll be definitely talking about that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We try to frame this in a positive light, but certainly the core is we want to prevent tragedies in and around our schools and communities. Awesome. This is great. Trying to think. Yeah, one more. So as you're thinking about those benefits and you're thinking about what this looks like for your community, and after your academy, you jump in, you do this work, you're 2 years from now, what does it look like if your efforts are successful? What is going to be your legacy of this work if you win the lottery and you retire from your current gig? What does your community look like? What does it feel like? What do you see? What's happening? What changes have been made? Who's been involved? What unintended positive consequences like academic achievement are happening? I'm interested to see what you guys are thinking for this one.
Also, if anyone wants to come off mute too and verbally share, you're welcome to.
Or if you guys are just like, I'm not sure I know enough about safe routes yet, you can put that in there too. And we can certainly come back to this one in a few weeks and see if there's some changes here. Yeah, kids are confident and independent. Such a core skill. We shift from learning how to ride a bike to learning how to drive our bike, right? Middle school. Yeah, thriving families, safer infrastructure, partnerships and coordination, sustainability. Parents are feeling more comfortable in their community and letting their kids walk or bike. The kids are enjoying it. We have safety, safer routes, more biking and walking. All Kids Bike Program, we'll talk about that as well. Safer streets, more walkability, seeing parent engagement in schools, which is key. Yeah, this is great. I know we're getting a little short on time, so please feel free to keep connecting back to that if you want. We can share out the Menti results and the follow-up email.
All righty. All right, so now we're gonna just chat through what does Minnesota Safe Routes to School program have to offer. As Kelly mentioned, we're one of 6 or 7 states that have state funding to do this, so it allows us to have a more breadth of flexibility, innovation, attention to this work. Some states only have federal funding, and it's one person at the state level that's doing this across the whole state. So thinking about that versus here, we have 3 at the state, but then we have 87 community counties and 10 tribal nations that are doing SHIP work, focusing on safe routes to school, not including RDCs and other folks. So we have a huge community doing this, and there's a lot of program activities and resources that Minnesota has. So the first one, as we mentioned, one of the key pillars in this work is the education piece. The Minnesota Walk Bike Fun pedestrian and bicycle safety curriculum is a modular curriculum. There's a training part 1 that is you do on your own virtually. Training part 2 you do in person with Walk Bike Fun, Bike MN folks. It is Minnesota Physical Education Standards and Benchmarks, which is one of the biggest selling points to be able to get it into the school because it's not PE teachers teaching in another thing. It can be a benefit and supporting the standards they also already have to have. Just for background, Bike Alliance of Minnesota is the same as Bike MN. We kind of use those interchangeably. It's the same organization. Bike MN is our education contractor with us at MnDOT to provide support and training for all of you. So their support is free for you to use, and that I think is really great. We'll talk more of this in week 3, but we did just want to call this out because it is such a big technical assistance component. And I know many of you have or will be using this. Some other technical assistance, I know Kelly's going to be dropping a lot of links in the chat. We will also have it in the email follow-up. But our team specifically has several technical assistant opportunities for you. We have the Minnesota Safe Routes to School Network call first Thursday of every month from 10 to 11. The content for each of those months comes from folks like you that say, I need to learn or I want to learn more about X. And so we create those content and that information based on what you all need. And that is a survey that we do at the end of every year, and then we create the content for the next year. Something new, I'm sure you've heard this year, as we keep saying it, is we have office hours from 12 to 1 on Tuesdays. It is a great space if you have questions for Kelly, myself, if you want to think through brainstorming of ideas. If you have a question, if you're in contract with us, Phoebe's always on too. And sometimes that's easier than emails back and forth. Also, if you're sitting there having like a dream of what does this look like in my community? How can we get this? Jump on and chat with us. We are there to talk to you. There's monthly e-newsletters that go out. We try to make those really beneficial for you to look at, as we know there are a lot of newsletters that go through emails. We have the Resource Center website. It will be up soon again, but it has all of our resources, all of our guides, has the event days. It has a lot of things in it. Pretty much it's like our storage folder for all the things we do is there for you to access. We can always take a call or an email if you do have questions that are really specific to your community, guides, templates, videos, success stories, and so forth. So we provide a lot to make sure that your work is as easy as possible to implement. So for the upcoming school year, we would love for you to mark your calendars. There's a few very fun dates coming up. The first one is in a couple weeks. We have July 25th. It's a Friday. We're doing our Minnesota meetup in St. Paul. This is an annual statewide meetup. The agenda for the day looks great. I'm biased. I made it. I think it's going to be fun. But we have both presentations and hands-on learning, depending on how you want to learn, how you learn. And there's folks from all across the state that are going. So if you haven't signed up, Kelly will put that in the chat again. Registration is still open. It is free to attend. October 8th is our walk and roll to school day. October 28th through 30th, National Partnership is doing a virtual summit. I'm sure you've seen my emails. If you haven't, you'll be getting some more. We at MnDOT will be having host sites at every MnDOT district for folks from that region to join together to attend the virtual summit. So it is virtual, but the hope is during lunchtimes, during breaks, you can talk to people within your region. What have you learned? How can we connect? So forth. So more to come on that. February 4th, Winter Walk to School Day. May 6th, Bike and Roll to School Day. And then every other year, so it took place in 2024, and it'll be in 2026, is the Safe Routes to School National Conference, which is October 20th through the 23rd. More to come on location, but mark your calendars for that. Also, back to the comment of fun. This picture of them walking in the rain is just joyful. I also love the upside down umbrella because you know it's windy. Also, some useful websites to explore. So after you get off this call, if you're really engaged and you're like, I want to learn more, I can't wait till next week. There's some websites you can look through. So the Walk Bike Fun curriculum website, Bike MN, the National Center for Safe Routes to School, Safe Routes to School National Partnership. Acknowledging all these names are very confusing and they are different kind of. The Public Health Law Center, specifically for public health folks, we know that SHIP partners with them to support various policy language. They have really great website and content. And then if you are in SHIP and you have access to the Basecamp, the active living in school pages, suggest that you follow if you're not. Alrighty. So the next kind of portion of this is we're going to show you two tools highlighting two really helpful tools, and we're going to think through for your community. So while I'm talking about this, start thinking about that. So the first is a visualization tool. It's an interactive map that outlines safe routes to school plans, bike fleets, construction, infrastructure construction, and so forth, all the way across the state. This originally was kind of built because elected officials kept sending emails saying, what's in my county? Where in my district, what do we have? And it took either too long for us to get to them and then they couldn't use what they needed, or we had to go through processes to even connect with them. So we said, why don't we build a map, a GIS map, that we can just send them the link and they can explore by themselves. So that was like the baseline of why we created this. Over time, it has been really, really helpful for creating connections between a city and a county and a local organization to see what's happening in my community, what has taken place. Does my school have a safe routes to school plan? And as you can see from this picture, we literally touch every corner of the state with the Safe Routes to School program. And that's because of folks like you that are invested and interested in the Safe Routes program. But this snapshot, I think, speaks very highly to the work across the state. So you can go into this interactive map, you can click on the icon and it'll tell you what the project was, what it was funding. And if it's a Safe Routes to School plan, it'll also give you the link to the plan. That's the first tool. The second tool is the stakeholder tool. So this is a really great foundational tool to say, I don't even know where to start. I've been to my job for 2 months and they keep throwing all these names at me and I don't know where to go. You can look at this tool and say, where do you want to think through? What community partner? Do you want the school district level? Do you want a local school team? Do you want a community organization? And then you can identify who that person might be and how and what they would bring to the Safe Routes to School team. Everyone has a different role, and this is a really great way to outline based on your need and what is needed for the school team. Kelly, did you drop that in the chat?
I'm working on it. Little trouble since we have internal and external partners. I'll find a workaround.
Okay. So for the next couple minutes, if we can, folks that can see it in the chat, thinking through, let's see if I have it even. So the thought would be, and if you get the access, you can also look at the visualization tool and do this, but thinking through identifying 1 to 3 folks that you maybe reach out to in the next couple weeks. Is there someone, again, on that to-do list that you're like, I really need to email my SHIP coordinator, but I just don't want to do that. And maybe you do that this week. So in the breakout rooms, which we won't be doing, we were going to share who we might reach out to. So if y'all want to come off mute or put it in the chat of a stakeholder that you may be helpful to connect with to expand this capacity for Safe Routes to School.
Or if you've been dabbling in this work for a while and maybe there's a partner not listed on the stakeholders who's been instrumental, share it. We know working with schools, sometimes there might be a unique partner in a school that might be more helpful, you know? So sometimes the principal's hard to get a hold of, but you have a PE teacher who's really passionate about this. Or it's you know, someone, a paraprofessional who walks to school who's like, I would love to help out with this. You know, might be some other non-traditional partners. I'll scroll to the second page. We'll send this out afterwards. My apologies again.
Or it could be someone that you didn't think about that is also on here that you're like, oh, that's a good idea.
Kelly, this is Tony. I think one that jumped at me, and it was probably a miss on my end, was the TZD coordinator. I think that's in the plans I've done in northern Minnesota, that's someone that I probably should have had on my stakeholder group that I haven't. And so that would be someone that I should reach out to.
That's a great connect. They have a lot of traffic safety knowledge and partners already at the table. And so maybe you're not starting something new, you're embedding with your TZD coalition locally. We've had these conversations. The thing that happens is TZD is great because they focus on the data, the numbers, and that's where they find their highest priority areas. What we've learned through safe routes planning is kids don't call to report that they've been hit by a car. If they're able to walk away, they just walk away. And so every time we do planning and we talk to kids, we hear, oh, well, I was crossing the street and like a car tapped me, but I was able to walk away. And like the kids just assume that adults are in the right because they're adults. That's what they're literally trained to do in schools is adults do the right thing. So when they're walking and biking and hit or near miss, if they're able to walk away, they do, and they never report it. So we find with youth transportation and walking and biking, you could look at crash rates. It's going to be significantly underreported for our youth. And so that is another perspective to bring into this conversation is we might not have a lot of data, but if we do engagement with youth, we are probably going to find out about more hits, crashes, and near misses than our data can show us. Great addition, Tony. Thanks.
Anyone else? All right. Well, lucky you, it's the call to action. So you get to look at this again in a little bit and do something with it. Tony, you get to reach out to your TZD folks. All right, only a few more slides. I know we're about 6 minutes out. So the local highlight today is SHIP. Since it's really the foundation conversation today, SHIP does a lot of great work, and as Kelly mentioned, is really why we can do this so well across the state. So as you know, maybe you don't know, SHIP is the comprehensive health strategy that coordinates across all 87 counties and the 10 tribal nations across Minnesota. The complex and comprehensive nature of this work, there's a lot of people in this kitchen that want to cook, is that there's expertise across all the levels and trying to figure out, again, who's in that Safe Routes to School plan, who's in that team that can bring their knowledge and resources to the table. So here's some stats for you. During the 21-23 SHIP cycle, 333 schools implemented Safe Routes to School. And that reached over 156,000 students. That is amazing reach. And the Safe Routes to School strategy, 65% were from local public health agencies that were implementing using SHIP funds. So again, this is a cornerstone, and I think one of the reasons why Minnesota is doing so well with Safe Routes to School and is a national leader of this is because of this collaborative, leveraged approach from various funding. The infographic on the left over here, we'll also send you. This was done with MnDOT, MDH, and Harvard to try to gather some information and data on the impacts of Safe Routes to School. And the main takeaway from this is that the Safe Routes to School is the physical activity strategy that increases the most amount of minutes than any of the other school strategies. So, and more than active recess, more than active classrooms, more than other PE classes. So that is just one of the reasons, again, and it brings back, there's a reduction of injury by 44%, improves air quality, gets more activity. Go ahead, Kelly.
And I'll just say that Shape of Minnesota gets to a really important piece is that MnDOT provides Safe Routes to School funding statewide, but over 75% of our funds goes to Greater Minnesota. So most of our work, our support, and our funding goes to Greater Minnesota communities. And the Metro has some other resources. We certainly fund them, but I just want to highlight that we see this work happening in all sizes of communities and schools across the state. And our funding shows that, is proof.
All right, with 3 minutes left, I'm very proud of us for staying on schedule, is the call to action. So again, this is the item that I am hoping that you get to do between now and next Tuesday. It will be our warm welcome. It'll be a little homework that says, have you done this or not? So I really hope you can. The first one is to review your Safe Routes to School community plan or another transportation plan or policy. Just understand what is in your community. What plans are there? Is there Safe Routes to School? Is there otherwise? If not, that's a really great starting point. If there is, like some folks mentioned on the introduction, understanding where is that level at? And we'll talk more about that in the next couple of weeks. Second thing, identifying 1 to 2 stakeholders from your community and sending that introductory email. It does not have to be formal. It can be, I'm on this training. We were trying to build our Safe Routes to School team, my network of folks who are doing this within the community, county. You want to have a one-on-one conversation? Do you want to get coffee? Just understanding how both of your roles can play into supporting Safe Routes to School within your community. This will also be in the email just as a reminder. Oh, somehow that came away. And with that, we have 2 minutes to spare. You're welcome to stay on and ask any questions. Also, I know meetings are back to back, so if you need 2 minutes to go transition from meetings, you're welcome to. But really, thank you so much for being on the call, being willing to learn more about Safe Routes, and we are really excited for the next now 7 weeks.
Thanks everyone for joining us. Great job, Sophie.
Thanks, Anne. Great.
Yay. All right. I'm going to hop off for the recording, I think.